Hey everybody, welcome. This is the GeekMom Game of Thrones recap show. We are episode 2 of season 5 called The House of Black and White. If you've been staying with us, this is our third year so far running, and as I've had along with me from the very beginning, we have Andrea Schwalm. Say hi, Andrea.
Hi.
Sometimes Andrea Schwalm Stoles, depending on where you see her byline. One of our Geek Moms from the very beginning. And we also have Michael Harrison from Geek Dad. Michael, want to say hi? Hi. Oh.
What was that?
That
wasn't me. I do want to say hi, but...
we're starting off really exciting, just like the episode tonight. So during the course of this, if you want to tweet at us, you can see our tweet handles underneath. Hey everybody, welcome. This is the Geek Mom Game of Thrones recap.
You have the YouTube window open. Andrea, I think you do.
Black and White. If you've been staying with us, this is our...
Who is that?
Andrea, do you have that window open from YouTube that you were on a second ago?
No.
Well, it seems to be over now.
Yeah.
Wow. Well,
As for that very exciting little echo chamber, we're starting out really strong with this episode, but that's not a whole lot to talk about today. We did mention last week that from the rumors that we've heard, the first 4 episodes are kind of a lot of wind-up, and that's certainly something that we have discovered. Now, the title is The House of Black and White. People who've read the books, this is not a big surprise. We finally see what Arya's been up to, getting all the way across the narrow sea to get to Braavos and to look at the big Titan that, of course, is just a statue. So let's start with Arya, since obviously that's the multi-scene arc that we had this episode. Any initial thoughts before we dig any deeper?
It's good to have Arya back.
Yeah, she seemed like a little empowered young lady there and was getting it done. I liked seeing, because we didn't see her at all last week, so this is our first, our reintroduction for the season.
Mm-hmm.
So, I don't know, I have to say, I like the Braavos scene in the opener with the coin going around the track. Did you notice in the opening credits?
Yeah.
Was it as elaborate as that last season? I don't remember noticing.
I don't recall.
But I liked it. But my son's watching the credits with me, the opening segment. And he's like, "This is really long. What is this, like 2 minutes?" I said, "Yeah, but it kind of sets everything up, and everything moves. It's so cool."
There's all the little Easter eggs that you kind of like see things that show up and things that fall down, and it's kind of cool that way.
And you're constantly looking to see if they've updated it or if there's like a new location. I don't watch opening credits as closely on any other show.
And of course, let's face it, we all sing along because I can't not. I don't even like. I'm just do 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 do. Yeah. So Arya finally arrived. I think there was a lot. It felt like we're covering a lot of ground we covered before. Not a ton of dialogue, not a ton of Maisie Williams being able to be kick-ass. Two major scenes. I guess sort of 3 if you count sort of the montage of time passing and her finally giving up and throwing it in the water. Didn't really do much other than to sort of establish that she's still kind of a badass. I mean, cutting the head off of a pigeon like that was pretty impressive, I guess, in the long run.
And she was totally willing to stand up to those ruffians.
She's going to be a stone cold killer in about 30 more seconds there.
They've certainly been bringing that up and kind of building that up for her in that direction, that she's obviously going to some place where she's going to be a force to be reckoned with, because Jakar Hug, whatever his last name is, that isn't his name, definitely one of the most dangerous people she came in contact with, yet the kind of person that she wants to sort of pattern herself after. It looks like she doesn't really have much left. So yeah, I mean, I think it was good to see Arya. I don't really think it was other than to just kind of set the scene and said, okay, she's here now. I think I really liked the sort of the CG atmosphere they did with Braavos was really cool. Although
Yes.
people called it the bank of black and white. It did look a little bit like a bank versus, I think in my mind's eye, it was a little bit sort of creepy and more dilapidated and not quite so monumental. So yeah,
Yeah,
Kind of a Venice vibe to it too. You know, seemed like
for
there were
sure.
a lot of canals, a lot of commerce going on, obviously. So looks like an interesting new place. Sorry.
Yeah, and then the Colossus, the huge statue, was particularly awesome to kind of see. I think we got some shots of that last season during some of Stannis's interactions with the bank,
Yeah.
which surprisingly enough, not in the same building as the House of Black and White. Um, but I mean, you seriously weren't surprised to see to see Jaqen?
No.
I have to
Yeah,
say.
I totally was. I was not expecting that at all. That didn't happen in the books. That was
Yeah, but they showed him in the preview.
well, sure, but I think that was hinting at the fact that he was.
I don't know. I didn't think it was that surprising because that the actor that they had playing the other person was so distinctive looking and sort of like you just kind of wanted to keep staring at his face, and then all of a sudden I wasn't. As soon as they started panning the camera, I was like, oh, it's totally going to be Jaqen or whatever his name is. So we can be surprised or not surprised. Not the end of the world.
You're better than me. I was surprised, and I thought that was a really cool effect. I liked the pan and then the face shifting.
Yeah.
Like that was well done.
He's got the
Yeah.
cool hair streak. He's very punk rock, you know. He's him, but he's not. He's just a man, and she's just a girl. So, you know, just a small town girl.
Well, so what was the point of not allowing her in at first? Did she fulfill some requirement to get in the door? Like, it seemed to me like she's hanging outside. It's raining.
They had to perform a credit check first.
and then she leaves, and he follows her, and then she's allowed in. Like I wasn't quite sure. Did I miss something there? The fact that she threw the coin away, was that what gained her entrance ultimately? I don't know.
Yeah, I don't think they did a terribly good job of. It was more like I guess they wanted to test her first. Like I sort of thought of it as like a entrance interview or something.
Yeah, but what was the test then?
Yeah.
The test was to see whether or not she was going to just, continue to survive, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Was she going to give up, or was she going to continue to thrive? And she did. I mean, she went out and she caught her own food, and she was willing to defend herself. I mean,
she wasn't
that's
just
the only
getting
thing.
going away. I guess she could have done that.
But didn't Jakar already? I mean, Jaqen. I could call him Jakar. Didn't he already know that about her?
I don't know. Maybe he didn't know for sure if it was her.
But is this Jaqen or Jaqen or Mr. Hakar, as I'll refer to him moving forward? I don't think it is. I think this is someone else who just so happens to have he put on that face.
Yeah,
that's my particular theory.
That's another possibility. Obviously, we have sort of melting faces. So okay, I think we've covered Arya well enough. I think it's gonna play out more this season. Obviously, if they're naming an entire episode after her thing. Although, but black and white, good and wrong, right and wrong, good and evil seem to be some of the themes that are going on here. So let's talk about what surprised me the most this episode, just because I'm going to say that. But let's talk about the sister. So Sansa, Littlefinger, hanging out at the old pub like they're going to start some D&D campaign. And Brienne and Pod are sitting there, and they're recognized and they're called out. And that is, for book readers, not known to us as far as I can remember. Were you guys surprised? What did you think of that whole section?
Well, I thought, we talked last time about the irony of the caravan going right by them, and you think it's a lost opportunity for Brienne and Sansa to connect, and it turns out it wasn't. And then, there they are chowing down together at the same inn. And I mean, I have to say the way that played out, I feel like a lot has changed in Sansa off screen between this season and last, and so I'm still trying to get a bead on who she is and how she's making decisions these days. So it all surprised me.
I think the thing that just surprised me the most was sort of the narrative trick from last episode where they had the near miss with Brienne and Sansa. To see them like return to that, I totally thought that was just a throwaway bit, just a bone they were throwing to the fans, and it was intriguing to see that they were actually following up on it.
I'm particularly interested in Sansa and her motivations because I believed her in her delivery to Brienne that she wasn't giving her any eye signs or indications that she was not otherwise exactly where she wanted to be. You'd think hearing that her mother's essentially dying wish, or toward the end, her one of her last wishes was to have her be protected by Brienne and to let Littlefinger sort of take her down and then just kind of be like, and I mean, the look she was giving her was like, and okay,
right, run along.
Well, you did clear up the hair dyeing thing, which I was glad about. Just
yeah, they clarified that. But one thing last week when we were talking, I said something like, "Have they had relations?" And then Sansa and Littlefinger, and in one of the promos somewhere, they are kissing. So I'm not sure if that's the future or the past. Did they already kiss?
Yeah, that's that kiss that he took from her when she was at the Eyrie.
It looked a little
different.
Complicit. It looked like she wasn't having a kiss stolen from her. So and then just the way that she speaks to him is very. She's changed. She when they're sitting there eating, she says, "So you got this letter this morning from the Raven. What was it?" She's not being meek at all. She's very direct, and she's pointing out, what's happening and questioning him on his motivations. Like I said, I'm not quite sure how she got from where she was to where she is now.
I agree. I think there's a little bit of a dissonance there that we're not getting as watchers, and certainly we're still in the dark as readers too. I think it was interesting to me the way she talks to him is borderline as a peer, but almost like someone who's trying to learn from him at the same time. And I wonder if they're trying to set something up where Arya is going far away to learn these sort of secrets, but Peter has a lot to teach somebody about how to run business the way that he's done it. And I kind of feel like she's thinking, well, this is probably the best I'm going to learn to be able to get an upper hand over people like Joffrey in this world, and that's all she's going to have.
Yeah, yep. I definitely don't see anything immediately happening between the two of them. I feel like she just views this as her best chance of survival.
But she doesn't. I mean, that if I felt that way, I would be fearful. I would be, trying to please the person that I was pinning my survival on, and she's not behaving that way.
Well,
but then at the same time, he said something like, "Oh, my marriage proposal has been accepted." So clearly, like if something is going on, neither of them is thinking that this is a long-term thing.
Yeah, I think I mentioned last week that I kind of got the feeling that she is beginning to understand the power that she has over Littlefinger, and the fact that she understands sort of the history that he had with her mother and how much she resembles her mother, and I think she's just sort of she knows how to or at least she thinks she knows how to handle him.
It's a lot for a 13-year-old to be able to handle. Or however old she is now. Good for her.
She's probably closer to 18 now in the show.
Right.
I'm wondering. I don't know. The one thing that stuck out to me is the fact that Brienne just went out and said "Sansa Stark," like really loud.
Right, and everybody would know then. What are they going to do? Kill everyone in the inn?
Yeah.
Buy them all dinner?
We didn't see. They might have.
And he didn't deny it. He said, "No, we're family now." You gotta wonder if that's gonna get around somewhere, because it seemed like last season they were so much about making sure no one knew who she was. So I guess something has changed, because I feel like if this has been a couple of, like last season, he would have just had her killed. I mean, he kind of did try to have her killed, but it was a little more playful. I don't think they were going full bore. They were really trying to just get away.
Right.
It'd be interesting to see if there's any repercussions from that later on. And then there's Pod falling off the horse.
He was annoying me.
Yeah.
Like, if I were Brienne, I would be like, you are like baggage that I can't sustain right now. Like, I'm waiting for him to pay off. Although he did know that was Sansa. Brienne didn't.
I think that's the only reason she's keeping him around, because she's just not good. She was barely at court, barely long enough to figure out. But he was there long enough, and he was working with Tyrion. So yeah.
Well, that's true. So hopefully he will begin to pay off, because so far he's been nothing but a liability.
Yeah, and learning to ride a horse might be something you want to do as a
Well, I said, what was he doing with all of his time? I can't remember his history now. He was in
the brothels a lot. Remember, there was the whole.
That's right.
He's really good at his job. Doing the brothel.
But
he was totally like leering after the barmaid, the barwench.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
So he has a libido, and he's young.
Got that tackle box to go with it. So, yeah. So and that was another just kind of short sort of peer into the world, and then that was gone. So we're back to square one with that. So we mentioned Tyrion. I kind of felt like the scenes with Varys and Tyrion were another extension again of what I kind of complained last time, that I felt like it was being seen again. And this time it was like, now it's the elevator version of this, where they're stuck inside of a box. And they're going to have the same conversation. Varys is going to complain that Tyrion is drinking. Tyrion's going to say something smart-ass. And they're going to talk about how much nobody likes them. And I just kind of felt like, really, this is what we're spending our time. We have 10 precious episodes. Right. And I love Peter Dinklage, and I love Tyrion Lannister, and I could watch. But we really, literally have not made any progress, except we're going to the place that's going to bring us to the way that we need to go to get to the place.
Although we now also know that every dwarf in all of the kingdoms is, in peril. Because,
before we move on to that, I have two things to say about Tyrion. I have, first of all, his beard is fierce and amazing to behold. And secondly, I just can't look away from it every time it's on screen. And secondly, I was thinking more about the plan to get Dany on the throne, and the fact that it has been the Varys his like life work to do this essentially. Why? Like, he doesn't even really know her. And his entire
child, right?
What's that?
Wouldn't he have known her as a baby, or?
Yeah, sure, but they're like, we want to put the right person on the throne.
Because dragons, Michael.
I think it's the dragons.
I mean,
it's like having a nuclear bomb, and so as long as she's not crazy, she's like the best option.
I have a theory that Varys was like scheming and stuff, and then when he found out that there were dragons, he was like, everything's going into this. Like, just, not balls to the wall because he's a eunuch, but, completely. Or maybe, I mean, there's been discussion, like, it could be, right? Anyway.
Depending on how eunuch he is.
Yeah, anyway. I think it's also the shiny and the, like, I mean, the Targaryen kids are like, Legolas and his dad. I mean, they're like these gorgeous, golden-haired she looks like a queen. I mean, she's
but
like,
half of them go crazy.
Yeah, but that's kind of the price you pay, I don't know.
It just seems like a lot to base your plans on, kind of willy-nilly and replace. I mean, so we don't know very much about Tommen, but he may turn out to be a fine king. We have no idea.
Nothing says a better rulership like a Lannister. Sure, far better than Targaryens. I think there's probably a story here we don't know, whether it's still in George R. R. Martin's beard or hair or head. We'll never really know for sure, but maybe we'll find out in the series. Maybe that's enough for us to kind of get a little bit of backstory from Varys, because we've gotten a little bit, right? He's talked a little bit.
Yeah, a little bit, but that's the kind of thing that I see Tyrion being my, my voice in that cart ride. He's the one who should be saying, why do you care so much about putting a Targaryen on the throne?
He's so drunk that it doesn't matter right now.
But he's Tyrion. Well, he can reason even when he's like 3 sheets to the wind.
I don't know. If I'm recalling correctly in the books, to do my total nerd at the moment, but he's like going over and over and over the death of his father at this point. I don't think...
Where do whores go?
Yes, exactly. I don't think he's capable of stepping back and going, whoa, 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 whoa. What about this dragon lady princess thing? I think that he's just not... I think that the reason they're having him drink constantly is to really show us that he's out for the count as far as logic and intelligence are concerned. So.
Right. Yeah,
well, and maybe
it's getting boring.
Maybe this is a question, goes to a question of how do any of us really cede power to someone? What are we like? Are we getting to the core of how human beings allow some people to be in power and some not? And does the fact that Daenerys has weaponry, has an army, has the looks, has the family history, like, is that it? Is that, at the end of the day, is that enough for everybody to say, okay, she can be in charge and maybe we'll have some peace for a while? Like, as humans, is that what it comes down to?
I don't know. I don't know if any of us have answers yet.
I mean, Michael, who would you think would be a better leader? Do you think Tyrion would be a better leader? We like him, but a lot of people in those kingdoms would just look at him and see a dwarf and say, I question his ability to be powerful.
I don't think that there's necessarily anyone who is perfect. I think that's my point, is changing things around. Varys, his whole argument is that the people in power piss on the small folk, and they're the ones who always suffer. But it's like, in a revolution, which is what's going to happen, that's going to be even worse for those little people.
Well, and not knowing who's in charge is also really bad for the little people, because then everybody is fighting, the big guys are fighting, and everybody else is kind of screwed.
And all of this so that you can have like 40, maybe 50, if we're lucky, 50 years of a potentially good ruler, and we don't even know if she's a good ruler yet because she seems to be mucking things up in Marine.
Right.
She's still learning, obviously, but it just seems like he's going through a lot to put someone on the throne, and maybe there is something to it, something in the background. There's a prophecy or some such nonsense. But I don't see the reasoning.
Well, he has said he wants peace. That's his goal, right? Didn't he say that in the last episode? That's what he's So
Yeah.
my assumption is that he believes that she is the one that can bring about, she has the best odds of bringing about peace.
And I mean, you got to see there's a certain point, the whole like concept of a mother queen, not a queen mother, right? I mean, and you definitely have this sort of contrast between what Cersei's trying to do. Like, she's not even trying to to cover the fact that she's totally being queen regent here. She's totally stacking the little court, the little whatever they're called. I love that Kevin just hands it out to her and then saunters out to go home to Casterly Rock. You know, she was supposed to be they were supposed to be that fairy tale, right? Cersei and Robert and their kids, and they were gonna rule for another 40, 50 years. They were gonna have kids. The Baratheons were gonna be the rulers. You know, obviously Martin's pulling from the Tudor period where everyone seemed to think they were going to have this perfect dynasty, and people keep getting killed, and people keep falling off of horses, and you know, being weird and gross like Henry VIII, and then not having any children like Elizabeth, and then the whole world has been turned upside down, and then nothing's the same. Like what you're talking about, change is super painful. But Cersei seems such a sad. I mean, you kind of see it happening. You see it crumbling around her, and even though Michael, you had mentioned as we were watching it, you're like, oh, she's so despicable, but I see so much more softness and emotion in her now. All of a sudden, like she's saying really bad things, but portrayal, the actress is definitely, you can see the hurt, you can see the fear in her face a lot more than you could before. She doesn't have Daddy to turn to anymore.
Well, I think her goals are very human. She wants to protect her kids. She wants the best for them. And if people have to die for that to happen, well, you know, but like what you're saying, you know, I agree with. At the end of the day, what she wants isn't that different from what anybody would want. It's just the length she will go to get what she wants. And the fact that most people are expendable then.
I think what I said was actually that she's so hateful, that the way that her delivery. So, you know, first of all, she's hunting down like every dwarf in the Seven Kingdoms, regardless of. She just doesn't care if.
Oh, that's a little messed up. Yeah.
That's a little messed up, but then you know she talks to Jaime about what's happening with Myrcella, who is down in Dorne, and he's like, I'll go save her. I'll go do that for you. And she's just like, turns around. With your one hand? Yeah, she's just like, yeah. I mean, he's offering to assist her with the very thing that she came to him about, or I guess he came to her, I forget exactly. And she just turns around and spits in his face. She just doesn't know how to. Yeah, she doesn't know how to like utilize people in a socially acceptable way. She's
although
fights everyone.
When she was talking to the small council, she said something like he's on a delicate diplomatic mission, and she actually spun the whole thing really well. So it seemed like I'm trying to figure out what the nature of Jaime and Cersei's relationship is right now, because she was absolutely horrible to him in that scene, and it didn't seem like he was being sarcastic. He seemed like he really wanted to make things better for her, but at the same time, like, I didn't see that spark between them.
Well, so I read it more as he's genuinely concerned for Myrcella more than anything, because I feel like that bridge between them is burned, and he's kind of there because their fathers died, and he feels bad because he let Tyrion go, but now he has an out. Now he can get the heck out and do something worth doing. And I think for him, you know, the Mr. Kingsguard kind of was supposed to kind of inherit the kingdom. This is the best thing he could possibly have happened to him in that moment. And the fact that I thought that there was no travel, there was no time. It was like immediately he's hanging out with Bronn and like, yo, what's up? Which I thought was a great little joke. There's no 2, 3, 4 scenes in between. There was just, he's gone. There was just, you know, he probably had his like suitcase by the door
Well, but that might speak to the fact that he's more comfortable like going on a quest than he is dealing with his sister, probably even under the best of circumstances, even when the sex is great and they're like happy with each other. My suspicion is that his makeup is such that he likes the fighting. I mean, he doesn't feel like he lost out being in the Kingsguard, I think.
Right.
I think he's quite happy in that position. And so this may be, a good thing for him, particularly now that he is, a handicapped Kingsguard, and gives him an opportunity to kind of play to his strengths. I mean, I don't think it was just altruism. I don't know how much. Have we ever seen him and Marcella together?
I don't think so.
Like, I don't get the idea that he really had too much of a bond with those kids.
Well,
have we ever seen Marcella?
Like very, very briefly.
They recast her, so she was very far from a distance kind of stuff going on.
So I think you're missing the most important part of that entire scene, which is the fact that we got to watch Bronn for like 3 minutes just be awesome and come really, really close to like just pushing his bride to be off the into the sea so that he could marry her sister instead and get the castle.
Yeah. And then
that's what he's gonna do. I thought he was gonna push the sister into the sea. I totally read that differently. I thought,
moment where he was considering going either way.
Yeah, I mean, whichever one was easiest.
So I'll go with the slightly less.
Well, isn't the sister married? Didn't she say something like her sister was married, or did she say when she gets married? No, when her mother dies, her sister who is married gets the castle.
Right.
And it seemed to me like he was saying, well, we could just knock her off. That will be okay.
I do have to say, though, it got me very, very excited to see where that particular strand is going to go, because the adventures of Bronn and Jaime sound like something else. So.
And then I love, Jaime. So I guess Cersei behind the scenes decided that the Frey woman was going to marry someone else.
Yeah.
And so he was, Jaime says, we'll get you a better woman and a better castle. You got to come with me. I liked that setup. And the thing is that for Bronn, like, he's not really the settling down type, even in a castle, I thought. So, yeah, this is going to be good.
Yeah, definitely. So we've covered Tyrion. I think we've covered what's her face, Cersei, pretty well. So that leaves Jon Snow and the Night's Watch.
And also the Sand Snakes.
Oh,
yeah, Dorne.
Let's cover the Sand Snakes first. I will say I was immediately disappointed because we did not actually meet said Sand Snakes. So,
I know.
Bummed out for a lot. So, and I felt like, what's her name, concubine to Oberyn, was overly, like, dramatic.
Yeah, she was getting a little mafiosa in a way that
was, yeah.
Because I don't know. I guess it's just the grief talking right now.
That and the color of Marcella's gown really made her look like a misplaced Disney princess, and it was like bubblegum pink. And I felt like she, it was like an outtake from Sleeping Beauty or something. It didn't look like it looked like the wrong period too. I don't know. Maybe they were trying to go for the contrast. I did really like the architectural differences in Dorne. I think it's cool to see what they're doing with that. I'm always really interested to see what they're kind of almost going for. Remind me some like Indian design on.
Yeah, you had the sitar music then, didn't you? Or was that during that scene? Well, and also kind of the water gardens had like a Babylonian feel to them, like the Hanging Gardens of Babylon. I liked the way that all looked, and poor Marcella just looked like a target was on her with that dress. I agree.
Yeah. I thought it was interesting that the way that she was speaking to the prince was kind of odd to me, but I guess they may be just more relaxed back over there, because I just kind of felt like that's not the kind of thing that would go down in in Westeros, really. Like, just hanging out with the prince, talking crap and insulting him and his health, and saying, "Well, you're gonna die soon." But
Yeah, but he seemed to. He wasn't withering away. He's not dead yet.
yeah, I kind of liked him.
And he didn't. I mean, he actually handled that scene very adroitly because you can't back down when faced with someone like that. But at the same time, you know, he said that we don't mutilate little girls. That's not what we do. Like he was holding his line. He was saying, you know, I'm in charge and this is what we're going to do. I felt like even though he's sick, right? What's the matter with him? Something's wrong with his foot or something?
Yeah, I think.
I can't remember if I read the books too long ago.
But I think it's like gout or something like that, but he's also just dying-ish.
Or gout, yeah.
But I liked him. I thought he did a good job with the, you know, I thought, oh, this is someone who is worth watching. He's got some surprises in him still. So, and I like, and you know, she was over the top, but she was great. She was like, you know, sometimes you just want a baddie, and
her outfit was incredible. The leather work, and her hair's cut short, kind of coal around her eyes. It was just. I thought that the look and feel of everything over there was really, really cool. She
was doing mourning well.
Yes. When they cut to Marine, I said, "No, I want more. I want more."
Right, I wanted to see the sand snakes that we've been promised.
We did get hissing, but it was another thing altogether. So. Before we went live and got all giggly and weird, we were talking about this scene. So you guys talk about your politics and Misha and all that stuff. Misa, right? Misa?
All right. So who's the harpy? The son of the harpy? What I couldn't wrap my head around at this point. What's the crime? What did that guy do wrong? What decision was it that Dany made that clearly they didn't want him to I don't know, what is his name even?
So
guy who got decapitated.
So the guy who was in jail was probably just a lower class citizen who was hired by the Harpies, who were the former slave masters.
Okay.
And he was the one who killed the what are they called? Now I'm blanking. Of course, one of Dany's eunuch, the Unsullied.
Right.
So he was the one who killed the Unsullied in the brothel during last episode. And I guess the slave representative whose name. What was it? Is that Misha or whatever? Is that who you're talking about?
It was like MHSA or something like that, wasn't it? Or was
her? No. Misha.
Oh, that's right. That's Mother.
That's her.
Right. So he took it upon himself to, enact justice on this guy.
Her council is comprised of. She's trying to put everybody on her little council, like a lord, an ex-slave, her military guys, like everyone's supposed to all be there.
And she made the judgment that he was going to be given a trial, but the slave representative decided to go in and kill him because he thought that's what she wanted. He basically
said he was insulting her to his face in the cell. I kind of had a feeling that he wouldn't have been as vicious as he was, and he wouldn't have killed him if he hadn't have been so vile about her when he went to visit her.
That's agree to disagree. I think he was going there to kill her, to kill the guy regardless, because he basically said to Daenerys later, I did that because I knew that you had your hands tied and couldn't. But then she executes him.
And that ends up well for everybody.
That was a scary scene, and I kept on thinking she's going to say no, don't kill him. She's going to redefine justice as the people who are all begging mercy for him, and she's going to say I'm a benevolent queen, and we'll do something with him that's a punishment, but he'll get to live. So when his head came off, that surprised me, and then everybody immediately turns on her. I wish Varys had seen that scene. He might have some second thoughts about who he wants to be in charge of all of this mess.
I thought it was interesting too that Dario's the one that that performed the execution, and she really gave him barely she barely nodded her head, and he knew. But then I was surprised that when she dismissed everybody, she dismissed everybody. Like, it wasn't just like he didn't get to hang out this time. There was no boobs and butt in this whole episode. So kind of interesting that he's kind of like an extension of herself in some ways, the sort of more cruel side that she can't do. But at the end of the day, it wasn't him that hung around. It was our missing dragon.
Yeah, that was a good dragon.
It was a good dragon.
That was fun to watch. And so, we were saying last week, or I was, that, the dragons are, a physical manifestation of her power and ability to lead, and she seems to be coming to terms with the dragon. So perhaps, that's a clue that she's about to make some solid leadership decisions that move her in a better direction.
Mm-hmm.
Hopefully, because I liked when they did the thing with the shields. That was like the Spartans they would do that with the shields of the turtle, I think they called it. So I liked that little nod to history there. But it was scary. You can see the mob turning so quickly. That was a scary moment.
Did she make the right choice? And if not, when did she make the wrong one?
I think it was going public. Like, that was the worst idea ever. I mean, they could have exacted punishment behind closed doors. They could have issued a statement. I thought it just seemed really bizarre that you would do it in front of two completely opposing mobs that are angry at each other already.
Right.
Is that...
It didn't seem super smart to go ahead and do it that way. I felt that was kind of one of those suspension of disbelief moments where I was like, yeah, I feel like with all those people, they would be like, yeah, they hate each other. Let's not do it in front of all of them where they're
Let's incite everybody.
And maybe we should clear the rocks away before.
Was that her effort at government transparency? Is that what that was supposed to be?
She's ahead of her time.
So I mean. Well, and okay, another question. The Kingsguard guy. The guy who was in her father's Kingsguard, that's now part of her council. Mm-hmm. He said something like he was talking about her father once he went insane, and the horrible things that he did to his people. Sons being killed in front of their fathers, and he was saying I guess the point was. He was saying something about the rules and the laws. Like, I wasn't sure what the lesson I was supposed to take away from his message, because I wasn't sure how everyone was making their decisions. So, what point was he trying to make? Did you understand that? No.
Yeah, I did. I mean, he was essentially saying there needs to be due process. That you can't. So
he was saying follow the rules. Okay.
Yes, he was, and that's when later on when she said her response to the slave was, no, I'm not the law. Like, the law is the law.
Mm-hmm. So that was due process, what she did when she cut the head off the slave? I didn't see his trial.
That's the thing is, that's exactly what I was wondering.
Following through on that, yeah.
Yeah. So apparently, if you know beyond a shadow of a doubt that if the person admits that they killed someone, then you don't have to give them a trial.
Then it's just
Maybe.
swift justice.
Yeah, and I, after the dragon, which was cool. Yeah, I mean that was neat to see that. I turned to Natanya and I was just like, what the hell are they trying to say with this entire scene? Like, with her, with Dany's plot, what's the point? Like, I just don't get what point they're trying to make with what's going on, other than maybe saying it's hard to rule.
I hate to be the harbinger of really bad news here, Michael, but I have a feeling that that's what we're going to be seeing a lot of in the next little time. I mean, not to be too spoilery, but there's not a whole lot, unless they go severely off book, which is totally possible. We saw
and that's the rumor that I heard that they're going to do, that the book and the show are going to diverge.
Yeah, I mean, if you Google, I think it's Marinese Knot, George R.R. Martin. It's sort of his term for what he did to himself. He essentially wrote himself into a corner with Dany's plot and couldn't find a way out of it. And man, that last book suffered for it because we were stuck in Marine for a really long time, and it was boring as hell.
Now we get to be stuck in Marine while we're watching it too. So
well, that's fine, but at least give us some, like boobs and butts, like you said.
Well,
but
okay.
I guess that's why I was. I mean, Michael, I had a similar reaction to you, and so I started saying, I know what I'm seeing. Am I missing something? Because this isn't adding up to me. The story isn't adding up to results that I can grok.
Yeah, and I would say too, especially considering all the airtime that we had today for that episode, it felt particularly long and almost arduous to get through. So we'll see what happens.
Everyone was kind of stuck in this episode. Like everyone was stuck some way in this episode. It was like nothing is happening for me.
Well, the high point is that Jon Snow is now the Lord Commander of the Night's Watch.
So he must know something. Right? Now? No?
He still looks really clueless to me.
Yeah, that's not the word I would use. But
so he didn't know that Samuel was going to nominate him, right?
Yeah,
he was like shaking his head.
Yeah, but it was so. I mean, I don't know. It's another one where I feel like we've had 10,000 scenes in that mess hall, at the wall, and we kind of had to go over everything again. I did think it was Sam's speech was probably the high point of the whole episode. Because it was like more burns than he's managed in any more sentences than he's managed this whole entire series. Talking about standing in water that you made yourself, that was just kind of a lovely little. It broke down one man's testimony, and by extension broke down an entire man's reputation. And then with Master Aemon being the one to cast that final thing, I thought that the scene with Stannis was really interesting. It was nuanced and it was complicated. And again, I think we talked about this last time. You want to hate Stannis totally. You want to be like, he's with that crazy woman and he's birthing shadow babies. But then he was okay,
Yeah, you were totally expecting him to just, rip Jon a new one, maybe even like punish him very badly. Publicly or whatever, but he's like, hey, you want to be Lord of Winterfell? I can do that.
He said, I don't punish men for bravery. So, like, I was thinking, so what's the line there? Because he actually disobeyed your order, but it was brave. It was an instruction.
Right, because they have that conversation about how the wildlings are like Northmen, and there's a similarity there. And I think that Stannis says, I understand what it looks like to look into the eye of someone who they're different from you, but you trust them and you have mercy toward them, and that's that means something. It wasn't like he didn't die. It was just that he prevented him from suffering and from his people from suffering longer, and that is brave. And he did put a lot at risk. I think that Stannis is probably aware that he's up for the Lord Commandership, but he had to make him an offer that that was equally as important to him. But again, we saw it last episode. He's really struggling with his Starkness and what that means. And even if he became Lord of Winterfell, what would that mean? Talking about rulership, I mean, isn't what they're doing at the Wall more important than all this other crap going on? I mean, isn't it?
Well, does Stannis understand about the White Walkers? Like, does he really know that he, on top of fighting the battle to be in charge of Westeros, that there's this cataclysmic thing heading their way? He doesn't, right?
I don't think so.
I don't think he knows it quite in the way that that they do.
But I mean, he was responding to their letters, so I mean, I imagine he sees it as a potential power play. I thought it was really interesting. This is like the weirdest sort of connection for me. We were talking about sort of the themes of the episode, and for me, I thought it was really intriguing that that Shireen was teaching Gilly how to read, and she showed her, the S.
Oh.
And then at the very end of the episode, you had everyone hissing, and I was like, I wonder if they did that on purpose, because that's a really, really dumb connection.
No, I think they did it because they had the sand snakes too, right? And there was the snake with the thing. I think they were trying to be symbolic.
I think you're on something, Michael.
Yeah, it's really cute and kind of clumsy as hell.
Symbolism or sibilance.
Well, could you imagine being stuck in a room trying to, be brilliant with other writers and like get to a point where you start being just silly?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Maybe that's what it was. So I don't know. So it seems like Jon Snow's going to have his work cut out for him. Like he's going to have to deal with Sir whatever his name is. Doesn't seem like it's going to be an easy ascendancy to leadership on the Wall. I don't know. Like, of course we love Jon Snow. But was that the right decision to make? If you were Aemon, would you have made that decision?
I think he sees stuff that we don't see. I'm going to leave it at that.
Okay.
Okay, but I also think he thinks that Thorne is a jerk.
Well,
and he is. But 900. What was it? 998 Lords of the Watch. I bet a couple of them were jerks too.
Yeah, but I think that Aemon realizes that all those people, they're at their greatest, their greatest threat now, and they need somebody who can think beyond just the Wall, because that's gotten them nowhere. That's just put them in the position that they're in now, where they're falling apart. So if they can't breathe new life into it with new blood, then they're just gonna.
I think he also understands that the wildlings are important, and that Jon's relationship with the wildlings is the key to their salvation. I mean, it continues to blow my mind that they've never tried to work together. It's like these are the I guess up until this point the White Walkers have not been an issue,
Right.
Going back a long, long time, but now you need to know more about them, and the people who know more about them are the wildlings. And Alliser Thorne will not work with them.
Right.
They're also
Nothing.
an asset. I mean, they're enough of an asset that Stannis wants them.
Yeah. So I think that
it's a big challenge for he's young. Of course we are rooting for him, but that's a big leap he's making.
That's going to be interesting.
But I agree that that's probably the reason why, that you need new thinking, and you need someone who can hook up with the wildlings.
Literally.
I thought that was funny that they tried to oh, because he makes love to the wildlings, and everyone's like, yeah, it's kind of lonely out here.
Right.
Nobody was like, yeah, oh. They were all like, oh,
Yeah. Oh, that vow of chastity we all have. that wasn't an issue. Not the fact that he broke his vows. It was that it was a wildling.
Yeah. So I think we've covered everything, haven't we?
I think so. It was a disappointing episode. I wanted more progression. I wanted more movement forward.
I want them to treat us like we actually have a recall memory, and that we don't need things spoon fed.
Yeah.
I feel like stuff is being really slowly given to us again through this IV drip of oh, remember, there's a big castle and there's dragons. There's a queen over here. She's not really a queen anymore, and these are her kids, and they keep saying their names again, and it's yep, we got that part. So
Yeah.
I think it was a smidge better than last episode for me anyway, although right at the midpoint at 9:30 I was like, I want to go to bed. But then there was a dragon and I was okay, and then there was Jon Snow and it was okay. So but yeah, any final thoughts before we close the broadcast?
I don't remember seeing too much about what's happening next week. Do you?
It was all very vague and clunky.
It was super fast cuts. It was like bam, 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 bam. I think that I didn't see anything in Dorne.
No, but we did see more of Sansa, which I thought was surprising.
Yeah. Yeah, there's a little more Arya stuff. It looked like she's going to have to make a tough decision.
On this episode of Game of Thrones, Arya is bullied, and she finds out
a very special Game of Thrones.
I just want to know what Qyburn is doing with all of those body parts.
Yeah, it's getting kind of creepy. Well, I mean, we know the mountain's back there, right?
Oh, that's right.
Yeah. Maybe he's gonna have a dwarf head growing out of his shoulder. That would be cool. All right. On that note,
I'm done.
Thanks for tuning in. As always, you can reach us here. You can visit us at geekmom.com and geekdad.com for weekly geekly fun stuff all week and month long. We'll be doing this again for another 8 episodes throughout the season of 5 Game of Thrones, season 5 of Game of Thrones. If you have any questions, hit us up on our YouTube page or hassle us on Twitter. We're happy to answer. Thanks for joining us and have a fantastic week. Thanks all.